want to dedicate a little bit of time to going over what new hardware on board process is. Um, so in order to get your site online to DX Fleet, we need a few things to take place. The first is we need to make sure that the network is open enough for the DX Fleet whitelisted ports and URLs. So the first thing we ask is that you get with your IT person and verify that our whitelisted document lays out the port numbers that are required for DX Fleet for the edge device, your hardware on site, as well as your end user application access. So we would recommend verifying with your IT department that 8452, 5671, 8863, and 8496 are open and allow both SSL and TLS connections in order for you to be able to get your device online with DX Fleet. So that's the first thing, is we want to make sure that the network isn't blocking traffic for those ports and URLs. Second, we need to make sure that there's not any sort of pending database migration or something along those lines that may need to take place before the site is onboarded for the hardware. So if you have database that needs to be migrated, the first step would be reach out to our support team, let them know that you're looking to schedule an onboarding or put in an onboarding request, but you have a database migration that needs to be completed. We ask that you give us a few days at least in notice before you submitting a hardware onboarding form. Just we know that we can get your data migrated before you have hardware installed on site. So that's the second thing. So please reach out to support prior to the onboarding request if you have any sort of migration that needs to be done. Okay. The next part of the process would be we ask that your technician fill out this DX hardware onboarding request form. I'll place a link in the training. Here, they basically need to put in their information, scroll down, and there's an option that says, is this a DX Fleet onboarding? When you select yes to this, it'll ask you the type. So we have 3 different types currently for DX Fleet. We have an FSC 3000, we have Synergy, and a PBAX7 hardware onboarding type. So each of those are going to have their own requirements. For the FSC 3000, we need the edge MAC address. So your site will have an edge device. That edge device will have a sticker. We need the MAC address for that edge in order to bring that site online for the FSC 3000. For the Synergy controller, there is going to be a large label that has various serial numbers and stickers. There's a large sticker that has serial numbers and other information on the label. We ask that you upload and attach a copy of that serial number. I believe it'll say SN number. So make sure that we get the right one. It will also be your MAC address for that Synergy device. The third type, the X7. The X7 terminal will have a hardware device ID and the configuration page. But you can also provide the MAC address of the AX7 terminal if you have that handy. So that's something that your technician can get off of the terminal itself and share a screenshot in this ticket. Once our team has that information, we will need to check and verify that you have an active subscription with DX Fleet. So please ensure that your subscription agreement is already signed and that your order has already been processed. So that the site is ready for onboarding. If those steps haven't been taken yet, then we won't be able to create your site and your organization, and we won't be able to onboard you right away until that stuff is done. So it's important to note that, the site subscription agreement needs to be in place. Once this request goes in, then our global support team will attempt to connect to your device and link and update the so if it's an edge box for an FSC 3000, we will go ahead and link the device and install the latest software on it. Same thing for the Synergy or the AX7. And then happen is we will provide your tech access to DX Fleet. So once the device is laying and online and we can connect to it, then we will go ahead and give the tech access to DX Fleet for your organization. And there they can configure the hardware in DX Fleet. So if it's an FSC 3000, we'll need to make sure that the FSC 3000 has the latest firmware on there that's compatible with DX Fleet. The tech can configure all of your pumps and positions and all of that, and then push those settings down to the site. The Synergy and the AX7, same thing. The terminal, the ACTs and pump positions, and any of the configuration on the site hardware will need to be configured in DX Fleet and then pushed down from the technician to the site. We ask that the technician test a few things. First, verify that you can create a card if you're using proprietary cards, and that you could authorize and dispense fuel on a transaction. If you're using multiple cards, that's fine. We ask that you do a test transaction on a card and verify that fuel is dispensed. If you need to use proprietary cards, we do ask that your technician speak to the customer and verify what options the customer would like to use for things like product restrictions, quantity restrictions. Is there any sort of max quantity for things like certain pump positions? Do you want to configure a special timeout if your terminal's farther away than the fuel island? So we ask that the technicians ask all the appropriate questions to verify any specifics that your users would like for their site. The proprietary cards are important to know. Are you going to use driver vehicle cards? Are you going to use single cards? And we want to make sure that DX Fleet is configured on the PCF configuration page with all the appropriate options that customer is expecting to use. And at the end of the onboarding, the global support team will basically be waiting on the technician to let them know that they are finished and that the transactions have synced to DX Fleet, at which point we will close out and activate your subscription agreement. If there's any issues with filling out this form, or you're unaware of your hardware ID or your serial number, please just submit a regular ticket and we will assist you with that. If you have any additional requirements for troubleshooting the actual hardware during the onboarding, then we ask that you call into support to have your technician work with the hardware support team to be able to resolve any of those issues during the onboarding itself. And so we just wanted to highlight this is the hardware onboarding form and set some expectation as to what the normal process is for doing those hardware onboardings. And then we want to make sure that the things that can be solved ahead of time, like the whitelist and like any database migration, can be handled prior to filling out the form so that we don't have to delay or push this onboarding back until those things get resolved.